Here we are in step number 2 of the latch hook crochet style. In this step, I will show you in detail how I do my braid pattern for this look. So just to give you some background about your braid pattern, you want to make sure that you have double the amount of braids in the front of your head than you do in the back of your head. For example, I braid about 10 to 12 braids in the front of my head. So once I reach the back of my head, I should have about 5 to 6 braids. The reason why is because you need more braids up front to add more fullness than you do in the back. So the design of this braid pattern also allows you to move your hair in sections at the top of your head to create a natural part when you want. So in detail, I will show you how I do my braid pattern for this latch hook hairstyle. To begin braiding your hair, what you want to do is use a water spray bottle to mist the section you will be working on. Especially if you have thick or coily hair like I do, using water helps significantly with parting and sectioning your hair. So what I will do is mist the very right side area of my head, and then I will begin to part my hair for my first braid. After you finish parting your section of hair, you will take a little bit of your hair gel and apply it at the very beginning of your hair along your hairline. This will help keep the hairs taut and neat as you braid your hair for your style. So now that your hair has been prepped, I will show you how to braid your hair. Right before I begin to braid, I will mist my hair just a little bit more with water. Now to begin, what you want to do is pinch off a small section here at the beginning of your part. Now you're going to divide this piece of hair that you sectioned off into 3 equal parts. Your left hand will hold the outer strand between the 3 main fingers of your hand, which is your index finger, your middle finger, and your thumb. The other 2 hairs here on the side will be held as well in your right hand. The hair in the middle will be held between your index finger and your thumb, and then your hair on the outer edge will be held between your ring finger and your middle finger. So now what you will do is you will rotate one of your hands to either side. So since my right hand has 2 hairs in 2 sections, I will rotate the right hand to the right, just a little bit. Then I will take my index finger of my left hand, insert it through the opening of those 2 strands, and I will hook this outer strand along with some hair from my scalp. So at the same time I'm putting my index finger through the opening, I'm hooking this outer strand and grabbing hair from my scalp as well. So now my hand placement has switched. I have 1 area of hair in my right hand and I have 2 in my left hand here. So now that my left hand has 2 strands of hair, I need to take my right hand of my index finger, insert it through the opening, and hook the outer edge of hair with some hair from my scalp. So now the same thing. Since my right hand has 2 strands, I have to take the index of my other hand, insert it through the 2 strands, hook the outer edge along with some hair from my scalp. So now just continue that same process all the way along your hair until your braid is formed and finished. So after I finish braiding my braid along my scalp, I like to braid almost to the bottom of my hair. Since my hair is extremely coily and tight in texture, I leave a little bit of the bottom of the braid undone. So when it's actually time for me to take down my style, it's easier to separate the hairs than braiding all the way down into a very fine braid at the tip. So this is the moment where I just like to stop and leave that a little bit undone, and then I will continue braiding French braids on the top part of my head. So now I've made a stop partway through my braid pattern process so you can see how your braids should be. In the front of my head, I have 12 braids. So once I reach the back, I should have 6 braids. When you're doing your braid pattern, try to keep even number amount of braids for the top, so that once you reach the back, you can braid them evenly. If you have an odd amount of braids in the front, then your last braid will have to connect to one braid, and you want to make sure that you do double in the front than you do in the back. So as I turn to the side, you can see how my braid pattern is. For every 2 braids that connect in the front of my head, it connects into 1 braid in the back of my head. And I just keep repeating the same thing as I braid along my hair, as you see here. So also I've connected each braid along the way as I've braided to end up with 1 tail braid. And this process is really easy. You braid down, and then once you finish your braid, you go ahead and do your next braid and just connect the tail end of the braid in itself so that it just forms 1. So as I repeated the same process, all of these braids started together and become 1 braid here. So now I will walk through and show you how I connect 2 braids in the front of my head to form 1 braid in the back. And I will also show you how to connect the bottom of all of your braids so that once your braid pattern is finished, you only have 1 tail length of a braid that hangs in your style. So now to begin, I'm going to take my spray bottle and I'm just going to mist my hair. I'm just going to mist this section here. And I have 4 braids left in the front of my head, so I will have 2 braids in the back. But I'll braid 1 to show you how the process happens. So now I'm just going to use my comb, and since I know that the back will form 2 braids, I'm going to divide the section of hair into 2 parts. So now I'm going to use my clips to keep the rest of my hair out of the way as I braid. And then I'm just going to pinch a portion off from the hair here that's not braided to form the 3rd leg of my braid. So I'm going to have to grab 2 braids that's hanging here to form my braid. And the way that I showed you how to braid your hair is just the same way. And you're just going to braid all the way down until you reach the bottom. Now, as I'm nearing closer and closer to the end of my braid, I want to make sure to take the tail end of the other braid and add it into the braid I am braiding now. So as confusing as it may sound, it's extremely simple. So what I do is I'm almost finishing up my braid is that I take this tail end and then I'll just add it over as if it's another piece of hair. So now instead of 2 braids hanging down, now I have continuously 1 braid that hangs down. So once the style is finished, I will have 1 braid that hangs down after my style that is easier to tuck than trying to tuck 6 braids from the back of my head. So now there you go, it's forming one braid here. Just simply continue to braid and then just take the tail end of another braid, add it into itself, and then continue to go down until you have a braid here. Now I like to make sure to leave a little bit of the ends undone with every braid that I braid, because when it's time to take down my hair, it's easier for me to take down a braid that doesn't be so close at the very ends. So this gives me enough area to be able to take it down with ease when I need to. Now the same thing is going to happen with the rest of the hair that I have here, which forms my last braid. So here on my scalp, I have 2 braids here in the front that has to connect into my last braid. And then once I connect this braid at the bottom as well, I will have 1 braid that hangs down. After I finish braiding this last braid, I will show you how to tuck your remaining braid in your style so that it helps you to extend on your extensions. So now that I've gathered that extra braid here, now here's my one single last final braid. For this last one, I try to braid it close to the bottom. So now I will show you how I tuck this braid onto my head so that I have a flat surface all around to do my crochet style. I do not suggest that you hang this braid and leave it down, because the purpose of this style is to make sure that all of your hair is tucked away. So what I will do is grab my hair beater and show you how to pin your braid down onto your head. So now with your hair beater, using this beater makes it extremely easy when you're pinning down your extensions and also when you're tucking your braid. You simply want to slide this end under a braid, take the tail end of your braid, insert it here, and just pull it right back through. So I will show you how easy it is and how simple the process will be. So right now I'm just going to take my beater. I'm going to close up the wings of the beater just a little bit. And then I am going to slide it through this braid here. So I'm just going to put it directly all the way under my braid and just slide it through. Just like that. Now I'm going to take the tail end of this braid and put it through the opening of my hair beater. So now that I have it through the opening here of my beater, I'm going to grab the other side of my beater and I'm just going to pull my braid through. And that's how easy and simple I keep my braid pinned down onto my head. If your braid is longer, just continue to take your beater, slide it under a braid, and keep pulling it through certain braids to make sure the braid is tucked down to your scalp. So once again, I'm going to show you how I pin it to my head. So I'm just going to take the braid and slide it out of that braid there. And now what I'm going to do is tuck it right here. I'm actually going to tuck it down further a little bit. So I'm going to take my beater, close the wings just a little bit, and I'm going to insert it through my braid here. Pull it right back out. Now I'm going to take the tail end of my braid, insert it through the eye of the beater. Just like that, I've just inserted it. Then I'm going to grab the other side of the beater and I'm going to pull the braid and tuck it right back through. And that keeps the braid really pinned down onto my hair here. So when I crochet my style, I don't have any of my hair hanging down out of my style. Here is your complete braid pattern for your latch hook crochet hairstyle. Now that your braid pattern is finished, in the next step, step number 3, I will show you step by step how to crochet your extensions onto your braids.